Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook podcast out of NRL Supercoach round 26. Proudly brought to you by Mortgage Choice SCW. I'm your host, Tim Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, Supercoach Grand Final Week has arrived. For all you head-to-head players out there, or even you overall focused players who you were going no good, so you turned your attention to head-to-head, you've managed to crawl in to the grand final of your leagues. It's all happening this week. Bragging rights with your mates go up for grabs. Your cashies go up for grabs if you're playing for a little bit of do-re-mi. Here to help you claim those cash leagues and your head-to-head, whatever it is. 2021's 91st place finisher, the SC Spy. Spy.
Round 26, boys. It's the big one. Mad Monday is locked in for
Round
everyone
26.
at home. Yeah, 26. That's just... We know why that is. Shawnee's last game, who was named. I wasn't sure if maybe he'd just have his last game in New Zealand, but get one more look at him this Saturday night. Sad times, but we've spoken about that before. But grand final week, how good?
Well, I'll be heading out to SJ's final game, and you claim to be his biggest fan, and you've said, nah, too far for me.
Yeah, I've got a family, and I've already seen him last week at Brookie. So, all good. Went up on the hill, watched SJ score right in front of me. No need to go past that, mate.
Have you lobbed into any grand finals, Spy?
I was only in 2 cash leagues. Got done in my prelim last weekend. Too good by about 50 points. Scored 1360 myself. But, yeah, a couple of big scores. The Melbourne match was one that killed me, boys. I think it was Hughes 130, Harry 130, and then obviously Tommy Turbo. So the boys won all right, but wasn't to be. And shockingly, I'm still around the 5,000 mark. I haven't gone anywhere. So a couple of big weeks. 3 trades up the sleeve. And only 1 Melbourne player in the squad. So we'll see if I can finally make a little run in the final 2 weeks. But yeah, it's been pretty stagnant, albeit solid enough this year.
I somehow snuck into a prelim final of a mate's league of ours and got towed up by my mate's missus. So that really summed up the year. Also with us today, 2019 NRL Supercoach champion Dez Creek. Dezzy, how are you?
I'm good. I wish I could say I had better news in terms of I'd flown up into the top 100 somehow, but, you know, I'm still stalling. I'm still in the exact same spot.
200th?
240th or something. Just haven't gone up or down about 50 spots in 2 months. So if you want to know what par is each week, it's my bloody team score. I scored about 1425, went up about 10 spots, so... Yeah, if you want to know par, just look up Turbo Ervo. Whatever I've scored, that's par for the top ranks.
Any trades left, Dezzy?
None. 0.
Gone out of them?
Used the last 2 on Cherry Evans. Not great. Went out to Leichhardt on Thursday, and, you know, I was chuffed when we were 16-0 up, and then, you know, all went downhill from there. Cherry Evans just didn't get involved. It was one of those games. It was classic Manly, realistically. Classic Tigers and classic Manly. And who did I use my last one on? It was... Dom Young. Bloody hell.
Tell us your Dom Young story.
I've cursed him. Yeah, I brought him in for negative 15 after he scored the 150. I've used 5 trades on him, brought him in, out, and back in. For about 9 rounds I've owned him. I think I've averaged about 47 points all up over 9 rounds. I've caught one ton off him in those 9 rounds. I think he's got 5 or 6 all season. So, yeah, like you're cursed with Manu, I'm cursed with Young this year.
Yeah, I've shifted a bit of that curse towards you and Dom Young, haven't I? Spy, you have 3 trades left, mate.
Throw out the sleeve, boys.
Oh.
Copped a bit of flack, actually, earlier in the year from yours truly about running out of trades, but I knew I had a plan. Unfortunately, I'm not in the spot to really capitalise on them. Obviously, sitting 5K isn't ideal, but at least it gives me opportunity to maybe make some big moves and have a bit of fun and see if I can get into the 2 or 3K region to end the season and go out on a bit of a high note. But, yeah, it's good to have them up the sleeve anyway.
Yeah, you can make some pretty significant swings with 3 trades, though, for a couple of rounds to go, though, especially if there's more rests and injuries to come. For the Curran Stallions, a whopping 1,209 points. We dropped to 16K overall. It is just grim. It was like, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Last week, I'd loaded up on that Roosters right edge, the Joey Manu curse. People said that it was alive and well. He hasn't been injured, so it's only half there. But had Dom Young, Joey Manu, Sammy Walker, and going, this is going to be a field day, an absolute procession. And then, who was it? Suoliti went off injured, and I thought, okay, Tupanua's gone to left centre. They have to go right. They were going at one of the worst defensive edges in the competition with Carm Pereira, Kelly, Jaden Campbell. Didn't go there all day. Drama. The Storm game, the Spine all went nuts. They all turned up, and I had Cameron Munster for his stunning 47 points. So, boys, the less said about the Cooma Stallions, the better.
Tupanua, by the way. Love that. Yeah. You got Manu on the right edge. Happy days. Yeah. Tupanua shifted to the left, and he had like 3 line breaks in 10 minutes. Set up a few, scored a couple or whatever. You do have something to play for, though, mate.
What? I'm all ears.
You have 2 weeks to officially break the Manu curse ahead of next year. If you could go ton, you can put a line through it and say we're starting fresh in 2025.
Forever the Optimus Spy. If he can ton to finish the season, like particularly the games they've got are so soft. Like there's 150 is in reach. If we can break the Manu curse, I'll leave the season with something. So I appreciate the optimism there. Also with us, as always, Matty the Waterboy. Matty, how are you?
I'm good. I have 1 trade left. I'm just pondering whether to, and I had like about 300k in the bank, so I'm pondering whether to just go for a fat upgrade this week or just try and see if someone gets injured next week. Considering my rank is nowhere near as good as you guys, I'll probably just burn it this week and try and get someone good in.
Yeah, have a bit of fun with it, mate.
Why not?
The debut season coming to a close, and I tell you what, there's a glint in the eye for you next year, mate.
I'm so keen for next year already. I'm so keen for next year already, especially around those origin period. That's what cost me this year, but yeah, I can't wait for next year.
You've learnt so much, and I think you've learned enough that excuses go out the door. You've made some pretty bad errors.
I've made some rookie errors.
You shouldn't make
that I can't blame for next year. Correct. Yeah. So I'm pretty keen for next year.
Exciting. So am I.
So Matty's resurgence is going to be massive.
Oh, it's going to be big. The double.
Boys, the SC Playbook Unlimited League. Bryce's boys ran into him at the pub 2 weeks ago. Since then, he has gone back-to-back 1500s. 1,568 this week. He's opened up a huge gap. About 300, was it, Dezzy?
300 points. I think, if I was a gambling man.
Don't jinx it.
If I was a gambling man, my money's on Bryce.
So there's $1,000 up for grabs for the SC Playbook League winner. But if Bryce can get it, he'll get 50k for that. I believe he's in beers and break even. 6k for that. He's walking away with 57 grand.
Whoa.
You may as well just donate the $1,000 back to SC Playbook if he's won that much, surely. Guys, the SC Playbook subscriber catch up. The get together with our contributors. We're going to have some Supercoach trivia there, some prizes to be won. Exact details to be revealed this week via our WhatsApp chat. It will be Super Saturday, September the 7th, round 27. I will drop that information in the WhatsApp group in the next couple of days. If you are a subscriber but you're not in that WhatsApp chat, please email us at supercoachplaybook@gmail.com, full word Supercoach. There we can let you know the location and all the details. If you are doing so and you are a subscriber, include your email that you used to subscribe so that we can verify it. Guys, never really asked this one, but please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to us, if you can jump in and give us a rating, all that sort of stuff does help the podcast moving forward. Takes you about 3 seconds, so it would very much be appreciated. Now let's get stuck into it. Today's show, Team List Tuesday analysis. The first mass restings of the final rounds. It is the Storm, who have rested 11 players, but there are still a couple of key Supercoach players still among them. Topic for the show, Dez, it's your last show of the season, so we're going to Q&A with you about what you've learnt this year, what's worked, what hasn't. You have a very unique approach to Supercoach, so looking forward to that one and moving forward. Second topic for the show, it's a very easy one and we'll probably dominate this week and next week's shows, but obviously head-to-head grand final this week. Everyone wants to know who are the top scoring players going to be, who are the trades to make if you have any left up the sleeve to win your head-to-head grand finals. We'll have a look at the best ones and do a bit of a ranking on that. Drop our round 26 trade and skipper plans. A few listener questions to finish, also looking there at the 5/8s to target on the run home. Who are the best options, particularly, again, for head-to-head finals. Let's get stuck into it. Team List Tuesday. The Storm have mass rested Spy. Katoa's out, Grant's out, Hughes is out, Blaw's out of the Supercoach relevant players. Cameron Munster and Ryan Pappenhausen named. It's begun.
Has begun. This is massive. I was looking through, obviously, Eli Katoa, very, very highly owned. Half of those boys are above 40% in that the top echelon of Supercoaches, so it's going to create some headaches, and it will come down to whether you've got depth in your side there or a couple of trades up the sleeve to cover it. Notably, Joey Chan does return. He's about 19% owned, I think.
Is he?
Yeah, I've still got him because he got to the point where he wasn't worth selling, so that could be a little blessing if you're short. Jay Chan on the edge there. But yeah, it's proper carnage.
Carnage.
On Thursday night.
Yeah, Dezzy, it is big. I think, as the Spy said, teams with sort of decent depth should be okay at this stage. There's a few players that are in doubt that are Supercoach relevant, which we'll get to shortly. But for those without depth, they could find themselves quite light this week.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I actually haven't owned that many Melbourne players or Penrith players all season. For some reason, I've stuck with like 3 Tigers, 3 Parramatta Eels in my team, six of the bottom 2 teams, and then only 1 from Melbourne, which is Katoa, and 1 from Penrith, which was Cleary. So none from Penrith now. But yeah, I'm in trouble at hooker either way this week because I've got Coruscant there, then I've got Fainu as my second front rower. So I'm having to play Brendan Hands at hooker and Sam Hughes in front row. So yeah, my team's probably, if there was ever a week I'm going to score under par, it's going to be probably this week.
I did note that at least Brendan Hands has been named to start. Like, the Eels could throw up anything there. They could have dropped in. They could have started Lussick, Matty Arthur, who knows. So a little win there. At least you've got a starting hook up for the week. At the Cowboys, Jeremiah Nanai and Jason Taumalo return there in what becomes a very favourable matchup for the Cowboys. What could have been a very tough one, but all of a sudden it is not.
Ramifications there for next week, if I can just jump in quickly.
Hit a spite. You can be the ramification master on today's show.
The ramification man.
Ramification master.
Master?
It's got a better ring to it, surely.
Sounds good to me. Cowboys win against Storm. Every likelihood, given the restings, means that if the Bulldogs beat Manly on Friday night, Manly can't get a home final. So surely next week that would mean Manly wouldn't play Trbojevic, Cherry Evans, potentially Garrick, all those blokes. Could be carnage again. On the flip side, if Manly do win, or if the Cowboys get done, they'd still be a faint hope they're a home final. More than a faint hope, they could win the game next week. So if you're owning a lot of Manly players, especially Turbo and Co, and you're down on trades or depth, then you're praying that the Seagulls can get up and turn in a big one, Dezzy.
Let's hope so.
Stay in the hunt for that Brookvale Oval semi-final.
So Cowboys win and then Manly lose. Manly can't play. They're not playing for home semi.
No, it's a waste of time, I think.
As a Cherry Evans, Olaquatu, Garrick owner, that makes me very nervous. As a non-Tom Trbojevic owner, let them rest. I don't care.
Trumps everything.
I've got depth. I've got to trade. Let them rest. I don't care. At the Doggies, a really big one this week. Josh Curran named to return via the bench, which isn't ideal. Obviously, Maxi King returned last week. Look, I'm sure he's not guaranteed to play. I know even last week they were saying that he may not return to around 27, but a good sign. But, I mean, Dezzy, I think you already mentioned, like, you're forced to play Sam Hughes this week. Granted, if there's no Curran, Sam Hughes becomes a very viable play,
yeah.
But a lot of Samuel Afinu owners with him at front row, Josh Curran owners, myself included. My third front rower, Curran, Fainu. I know I'm playing Taniel Paseka this week with Fainu on the bye, but there's going to be a lot of front row forward short.
Yeah, there's going to be.
Sorry, I think if Curran doesn't play, they'll find themselves short.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that a lot of people will be crossing their fingers for Curran. Not me included, though, as a Sam Hughes owner. I think, I really want him to play 45, 46 minutes again because he goes at about a point a minute. 46 points in the front row this week could be very valuable.
Oh, yeah.
I own Curran. I almost wish he doesn't play as well, just Supercoach-wise, because I own Sam Hughes, and I know Curran would hurt so many people so badly. I'd just cop it. In saying that, I want the Doggies to win, sorry, Dezzy, so we want Curran back.
Yeah. Tommy Talau returns at centre for the Manly Warringah Seagulls. Nothing majorly Supercoach relevant there, but tell us how Kohler got dropped to the bench.
Did he?
How is he the one to drop out of that back line? Like, it is a very good back line, but Kohler's a gun.
That's a credit to Tommy Talau.
It is.
Huge.
But in what world is Tommy Talau better than Kohler? Dez, you're the man.
Not this one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing that move, but
Interesting.
stranger things have happened.
Even like as good as Lehigh Hopper Whitey's been, if you want Tommy Talau that bad, Lehigh, first year of the NRL, getting to the business end of the season, Talau with plenty of experience. Just put Talau on the wing, but anyway.
Making the big calls, though, which I don't mind.
Yep.
I don't mind.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. At Penrith, Taruva and Alamotti return in a backline that is having some serious defensive issues of late. Casey McLean and Dane Laurie drop out. Do you also have McLean, Spy, because you're a Dane Laurie owner?
No, I got Dane. No, I never went Casey. Not that I didn't want to. It just didn't happen at the time. So he's another big one. Huge ownership. So if you're relying on him, he's gone. But yeah, there was a whisper getting around that Laurie could play fullback because I did watching that game last week. Dylan Edwards, his explosiveness and tackle busting was not there. Like, is he still carrying something? He has to. So I'm hoping that whisper comes to fruition and Dane starts fullback Friday night. But as it stands, no Dane Laurie, and we'll see how Edwards looks from a health standpoint.
Yeah, tell you what, Isaac Tunga is a protected species at the Panthers at the moment because he hasn't made a tackle this year, and he managed to find himself still in this team. But there you go. At the Bunnies, Cody Walker returns from a head knock. A few owners out there. Cam Murray has been named pending the judiciary hearing tonight, but looks like he could be in a bit of strife there as he seeks a downgrade. Maxi Plath has been named for the Dolphins, but is in doubt for this game. Boys, Payne Haas returns on an extended bench. We've just spoken about people needing a front rower. Dezzy, could you go straight to Payne Haas if he does come into the starting side on game day? Coming back very early from a Liz Frank, the foot injury.
You could. Definitely. I don't know. Yeah, it's you probably want to go for higher ceiling players at this point. But yeah, if front row, if I had a trade left, it would be Payne Haas. I can say that for sure.
I think probably spy on the proviso that you end up, let's say Curran doesn't play and people end up a front row short. I'm in that boat. I've got Curran and Paseka. So if Curran doesn't play, then I'll be a front row short. And that's I have the decision. Do I bring in a front row with my last trade, which I really don't want to do, or cop an AE? Granted, all my AEs this week, the bottom should be a 35-40. Like, it's not that bad.
I'd take the AE.
Yeah. And then go high upside player.
Haas from a foot injury because the worst possible time to bring him in.
Obviously rushed back.
Get him through as many minutes as he can get, but maybe he plays like 40 and he's underdone. I'd rather wait for next week.
Ponga had that same injury, a bit worse version of it, and he came back and he looked just as explosive.
Ponga had the 14
weeks out though.
Yeah. So it's obviously not to the same degree, but
don't get me wrong, Haas might be fine, but
I think
I'd rather just wait. Let's go maths here. Haas gets 60, knocks out a real solid 60. Your AE is 35. You're getting 25 points when next week, anything could happen next week.
There's no way Haas is coming back and scoring 60. He's coming back. He's making 25 runs, 30 tackles. He's going to do everything.
He's back about 8 weeks early from a foot injury.
We might have a late season bet on the go here.
I want in on it. I'm dueling somewhere.
63 or less. That's my
63. I'm taking overs on Haas.
All right. I'm a bit strapped for cash. We go a schooner.
All right.
63 or under.
All righty. I do not think Payne Haas is a buy. Come back. He clearly rushed back to get him into finals, and if he, you said you lose the power out of the foot, the explosiveness, all that, I just nah. Jesse Ramian out suspended. A blow for owners there. He looked a great buy this week as well. Jeez, he's in good form. Nico Hines named on the extended bench. Spy, I suspect this might come up in trade chat, Nico. Do we wait or do you want to chat about him now?
Oh, I can go now. I want him. He's actually already in my side. I'm just waiting on confirmation he's playing.
Wow, talk to us.
Sure, there's some risk. He comes back quietly. He doesn't goal kick, all that, but he's had a fair time out, unlike Payne in the Haas. So I'm just excited to have a crack at him. I've got Cleary. The other one is I wouldn't mind going to Luai, probably Friday night. But Hines, if I get word he's playing against the Warriors, it'd be fun to own. And again, I'm not coming 91st this year. I don't have to try and crack the top 50. It's more of a bit of a let's get Nico in and see what he can do. But yeah, I think I kind of want Jerome Luai for a bounce back on Friday night. But Heinzie, absolutely. The problem is, if you're trading someone like Cleary down, I know a lot have held Cleary because they're out of trades or they might have been waiting. We won't know if he's playing. So I guess the other option is you could get Hines with the backup that if he doesn't play, you flick him to Trindle, who's doing quite well with the boot at the moment. That's as your backup. But
then if Hines was playing next week, Trindle could drop out.
That's it. They'll play together.
Because the Sharks, I'm going to the game, 7:30 Saturday
night. But Hines and Nico with the pair, won't they? Or are they thinking maybe Atkinson, who's killing it?
We chatted about it yesterday, and we had that conversation where Trindle and Hines have not really gelled together for an extended period. And then
Atkinson.
Hines and Atkinson have worked. Atkinson and Trindle are working. Atkinson by himself worked.
Yep.
The common denominator here is Atkinson is killing it.
I'm all for Atkinson. Yeah, for sure.
Dezzy, Nico Hines, if he gets named to play, would you go near him?
Yep. He's definitely my number one target this week. If I had trades left and I didn't have to, if I didn't want to fix up my front row or something like that, I think Hines is the man. He's the second best player in Supercoach. Maybe third best.
I think third best now that Tommy Turbo's fit.
Now that Turbo's back. Even Teddy now, you can slide him into the top three.
The top five's getting hot.
It's getting hot. Yeah. It's getting down hot.
So if these blokes are all fit and ready to go round one next year,
it's
going to be fun.
Yeah.
But traditionally over the last 2 or 3 years, Hines has been, up there with Cleary at the very top. So he's he's ultra consistent. He could be that X factor you need. And he normally does return really well from injury. He can return with big tons. We've seen it over and over. How long's he been out for? Like 6 or 7 weeks now?
It's like
been a while, hasn't it?
Long enough to think he's hopefully healed. Quick ramification while you check that.
Yep, ramification master. What do you got?
There was no Saints team list X. There's no changes, but I did just have a look. If that scenario plays out where Manly have nothing to play for, if Saints beat the Eels on Saturday, it actually means they're within half a game of Manly, and Manly won't want to risk finishing 8th and playing the Dogs, I don't think. So there would be a question about resting people if Saints are 1 point
as
behind
opposed
them.
to the Cowboys.
You'd almost want to play the Dogs in Sydney, then go up to the Cowboys.
No way for me. If I'm Manly, I want to go straight to Townsville. Cowboys, not great defensively. Bulldogs' best defence in the comp. There's no way I'd want to play them. But it's it just throws an extra spanner. That relies on the Saints game. So, a bit to play out there. A few ramifications, if you will.
There is. Yes. So, Nico hasn't played since round 18. Yeah.
Look at those 4 weeks. 142, 160, 97, 114. Oh man.
I know. So, yes, a big watch there if he does come in and where. I wonder, does he even come in first game back? Does he play off the bench or something with the halves going well just for 1 week? It'd be interesting to see how they sort of slot
We need some word out of Cronulla before.
If he's fit to go, they need minutes in him before final.
He'll be
so
playing.
He plays 88.
Yeah, if I'm going clear to him, I need to know before 7:50 Friday.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Moving on to the Warriors, Tane Torpiki at fullback, Charles Nickel-Cookstad to centre, and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is out with a head knock. Bradman Best returns at the night. Spy, great news for Greg Marju, who I played over Britton Nickera last week. Wonderful decision, cost me 60 points.
This is one of the best team list news of the year.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Marju does not look like touching the ball. Admittedly, outside back rowers, it makes sense.
But even when they had, I think, Kyle McCarthy there and they had Christian Mapapalangi there, it was still they just have become such a right-edge dominant team, but hopefully Bradman Best changes that.
Yeah, I think the most underrated combination in the NRL is probably Ponga, Best, Marju. Their synergy is something else. And Bradman Best, I've said it a few times, but he just keeps blowing me away with how good he actually is, like skill-wise, everything else. But his tip-on at pace to Marju is outstanding. So, yeah, gets Big Greg straight back in my side as a huge option from Matthew.
It's almost that like Joey Manu to Dom Young, isn't it, where there's this sort of myth of Bradman Best being a ball hog, takes all himself, goes to line himself. But no, he unlocks.
Yep.
Not only does he unlock Greg Marju and create that space for him, but he's as you said, because he's there, they play left more.
Yep, and just your winger. If you're defending on Marju, you have to have an eye on Best. You got to jam in a bit. So it just all comes up. Big Greg, so that's bloody good to see.
Come on, Greggy.
Come on, mate.
Yeah, old big fella.
I've actually got a little top try scorer bet on, so if he could score 20 on Sunday, we're on.
Might be a sniff.
Maybe 15 even.
Kai Pearce-Paul is out with a nasty leg gash. Dylan Lucas to the back row. AJ Brimson is out for the Titans. At the Roosters, I don't know if it'll stay this way, but Connor Watson has been named to return off the bench, which really surprised me. Nat Butcher starts at lock. Joseph Suali'i is out.
Do we think Watson starts? Because he's my hooker. Got to be every chance. But I'll play him anyway. He'll get his minutes.
If I was betting on it, I would say yes. I don't know why when he's been so good there all season. And
why they'd change it.
It was a head knock. It wasn't an injury, so he comes back fresh. I don't know whether I would expect him to start, but to dagger if he doesn't. But as you said, he should still get 50, 60 minutes.
Oh, man, I'm playing him happy enough, but for him to start. Speaking of nasty gashes, got the stitches out today, so we're back in business.
How's the scar coming along, Spy?
She's underneath. I won't show the viewers just yet. Not for the faint-hearted, but we'll have to see in a couple of months.
Exciting times ahead. Guys, first topic of the show. Dezzy, we throw into you for a Q&A. As I said, you're a very different mind when it comes to Supercoach, especially compared to sort of the Spy and myself and the way you go about the game. Let's talk about your year and what you've learned. First and foremost, you've had a terrific year. You're sitting in 200. You've been there for a long time, so you're doing something right. You're a very consistent Supercoach year in, year out. I don't really know how, but you managed to do it. Mate, what worked for you in your approach this year? Because you do tend to tweak a few things each year, I found.
Yeah. I've written some notes down here, which is
Here we
unlike
go.
me.
Way.
So the main thing that worked was just being aggressive through the middle of the season, which is kind of where you'd normally sort of start saving trades, I guess, when your team's sort of set, you've bought your cheapies, you're waiting for them to get money. I just max traded through that buy period, before the buys, during the buys, and after the buys, just max trades, did not care about saving them. Like the perfect example was round 19 when I only had, I think, 6 trades left, and I used 3 of them to bring in Turbo, Garrick, and Jaden Campbell, and they all tonned up. I mean, obviously it's not always going to happen like that. It was very lucky, but you kind of just have to pull the trigger if you want to get the points.
You gave yourself the opportunity to get it.
I put myself in the position. So, yeah, you've got to be bold through that period. You've got to buy players that are capable of getting 100-plus scores. Instead of maybe traditionally a few years ago, you would go for players who are guaranteed 60 to 70 points, like your Isaiah Yeos of the world, who are always going to crack out 70 points for you every week. Joey Tarpany, normally a guy you'd buy through that buy period. I just didn't touch them this season and just went for sort of ceiling players instead.
It's an interesting one there, Dezzy, because... And what we're going to do is we'll have the final, obviously, in-season podcast of the season next week, and then the following week, I think at this stage, probably Spy, you, me, and Clem. We'll do our standard Supercoach awards for the year, but we'll also do our lessons learned for the year. So there's been a few questions about it. We'll save those for them, but just teasing on one that I've sort of found that's probably hurt me a bit, particularly with the CTWs. Yes, you chase the high ceiling players. I think that I've probably gone a little too hard in chasing those ceilings and going away from base stat kings, and like Kiraz is the top of the pops there. I've gone for guys like Marju, who he's lost his base because he's not getting ball, or Dallin Wittenis, and Lesniak, to a lesser degree Jermaine Osako. High ceiling, but base still just imperative. And I feel like you've done that well. You've been a Kiraz owner and been so high in all season.
Yeah. Speaking of Kiraz, I mean, that was another thing, identifying at the start of the season the Bulldogs as a team that I wanted to really stack. Right. I think I had 5 or 6.
I remember
Bulldogs
our first potty. We were talking them up.
Yeah.
And you said you got about 7.
Yeah. I just had that feeling, with ads at the helm, and just a few changes around the club that they were going to put something together this season. I didn't expect that they'd be pushing the top 4, put it that way, but I thought maybe they'd be pushing top 8. So that's kind of what I did in 2019 as well, when I kind of brought in Moses and Gutherson and those sort of players when Eels were last the year before. You kind of have to go for players that you think are going to, score points in that team, which is, not everyone in the Bulldogs is scoring lots of Supercoach points. You've got to identify the players still. So it's your Josh Currans, Kiraz, Tracy, Burton, obviously playing pretty well as well. Those sort of dudes. It's just identifying them early and getting on them, or even starting with them if you can. That's Yeah,
very good. Mate, is there anything that you felt has let you down a little bit this year? You haven't done that well that you might look to change in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously hard to sort of say that I did anything wrong when I'm coming 200th. I mean, there's still 199 sort of people ahead of me, but most things have to go right. It's my 3rd best season ever, so I'm pretty happy with it as a whole. I think, we talked about Dom Young, but yeah, you got to have stronger convictions with guys like that. Sort of, I identified him very early. I think it was round 2 or 3. I wanted him in. I thought I saw him as a keeper after that 150, and then he got negative 15, and I was like, Then he came back the next week after the suspension and got 30 odd. Then I kind of held him for another month, and I think he got 1 ton, and then he got injured again. I traded him out, and then I traded him back in. I was just on the fence with him all year. And guys like that are going to average out over time. You have to just hold on, and you have to collect those big scores. You can't just be, rouletting them, as Spy says. Otherwise, you're just going to miss those tons, and it's just going to kill you. If I just held Dom Young, I would have had probably another 200, 300 points to my name, and I would have been up in that top 100 sort of ranks. So that's the difference there, yeah.
And I suppose the thing with like the Dom Young example, Dezzy, is, you know, as you said, as soon as he knocked out the 150, you went, he's an out-and-out keeper, got to get him in, do not wait. And any injuries that he had, they were like 1 to 2 week. I think he might have had a 2 to 3 week one with Hammy at some point, or it was 1 to 2 week injury and there might have been a buy in there. There was nothing really major that kept him out for an extended period. But you knew that he was every chance to be the top scoring CTW in the season. Like, you know you're going to want this bloke back in, aren't you?
Yeah. Just playing at the Roosters, I mean, it's pretty easy to identify the Roosters as the best attacking team in the comp within the first month of the competition. We kind of all knew it, and we stacked our team with Roosters very early on. Guys like Angus Crichton, you brought him in ASAP. I think we were all pretty late on Teddy, actually. We probably should have identified Tedesco a bit earlier. That's another thing where you could say, I guess, that you would change next year, just trying to nail those crucial positions like fullback a bit sooner. But I think Turbo and I had Turbo and Ponga to start with, which is they were still going fairly well at that stage. It was very hard to justify a trade to Tedesco, even though he was outscoring them. But yeah, through that middle of the year, that's when Teddy really stepped up. So yeah, it's just 1%ers really.
Yeah. I know Walsh, I think, identified Teddy quite quickly, but I think the majority, myself included, was sort of sitting there going, we saw what he did last year, we saw a regression in his game, and we're just like, he's getting a bit older, he hasn't missed many games over the years, he's getting a bit beaten up as he's slowing down, and, you know, we were all very wrong. But Walsh, yeah, I think he nailed that one pretty early. Mate, more of a general question to wrap it up, but Supercoach in general, any views on the game you're happy with, unhappy with, that you might like, you'd like to see changed moving forward?
Yeah, I think for the most part they've got it pretty right. Like the user interface with the app is good. I think we probably got the right amount of trades. 5 trades boost seems correct as well. Obviously, it's not as difficult as it used to be a few years ago. I mean, they're trying to make it a bit easier for new players, and I guess to get repeat new players that aren't super overwhelmed their first year playing, and you want that replayability where they come back next season and get addicted like all of us. So I think they've got it sort of right in that respect. You know, because it does take a long time to learn the intricacies of Supercoach. It's not something that you can sort of pick up after just one season. As much as the Waterboy thinks he's going to go well next year, it might be even more depressing for him if he is in the same rank again. But
Dezzy from
we'll see. I think the scoring system, it's good, but I think one of the main things that I think needs a bit of tweaking is that they need to reward workhorses a bit more. I think it's very attack focused right now. So I think to bring back the relevance of defense and making 50, 60 tackles a game, which a lot of guys are doing right now, but they're not scoring particularly well in Supercoach. I think they could almost bring in a sort of bonus point system like they have
Tackle bonus?
Tackle bonus.
Yeah. I really
if
like
if you make 50 tackles, you get 10 extra points, 10 extra Supercoach points, like they have it in Fantasy Premier League. I think something like that could be implemented, and it would be a big shake-up.
You could do as simple as 30 tackles, get you 5 points. 40 gets you another 5, 50 gets you another 5. Like, that's an easy way just to do it.
Supercoach BBL does it with
run rate bonus and economy.
Yep. So I think that's a great point, because, and I think what that'll also do, if they can balance out the high averaging spine players, particularly obviously 5'8", halfback, fullback, and the CT dubs, which in recent years have just gone through the roof, if they can balance out with particularly the front row spot, which is like, cool, Adam Finnell-Blake's averaging 70, Payne Haas has been injured, but it's like a 70-odd average. If they could bolster a few of those up to like an 80 to 85 average, and you had to spend up a bit more there, it'd change the dynamics of teams quite a bit, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
It'd change hooker. It'd add, a 5 to 10 point average on at hooker as well, and it'd really balance out. Because ideally speaking, you want the best players in each position averaging the same, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you do.
Rather than having to focus on positions.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it means you can't load up on attacking weapons in the back line. You've got to try to find some value, which is fun. You might get your Bronson Sherry this year, get him in and go, he's been a game changer for me because I couldn't afford, player X as an elite, and you get in blokes like that, which is very fun, that little diamond in the rough centre. I like it.
The diversified teams a heap. Yeah, big fan of that. Big fan of that.
Can I throw one in before you go topic 2?
Hit us.
Just around, we've spoken about it before, Dezzy, but we're another year down into the new buy system of top 13 players only. When did you first think about buy numbers? Do you even consider it for the first 3 months, 12 rounds? Because I do a little bit. I'm trying to do it less. I've gone nowhere over the buy period in the last 2 seasons with this top 13 system. I've just been stagnant both years, whereas typically that's where we made our moves. So maybe I just need to put less importance on it, or we spoke about it the other night, but we had a few blokes like Sean Lane was potting along at like 45. I'm like, oh, it'd be handy buy number. I'll just keep him.
Pierce
Honestly,
Paul, Smithies.
Yep, just like almost a waste of time. Do you think get some better players in with upside, like you said?
Yeah.
When did you think about it?
That's the main thing, yeah, bringing in upside guys. But yeah, like I said, midway through the year, I don't look at buy planning as much as you guys, and as much as I used to in general, because it's just become easier. It has become easier. It's become harder for maybe people who are better at Supercoach, because now they're, worse players doing better things during the bye, because it's toned down the difficulty a fair bit. But there's nothing really I could definitively put my finger on and say that's what I did, that's why I went well.
Except you didn't think about it much, which
Yeah,
could be I think it's probably the key.
Yeah.
Next
That says it
year,
all.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to worry about it. Yeah, obviously I won't want to have like 2 players in round 10, but as long as you're around the mark, if you got your 3-4 trades there for round 13 anyway. You can
10,
use
11,
it.
12 players with a better squad, very viable.
That'll do.
In fact, better. Yeah. I'll save my sort of takes around that one for the post-season when we chat about what we learnt Spy, but my biggest takes this year have been around that buy period and attacking that, because a few errors there. Boys, head-to-head grand final week, of course. For those with trades up sleeve, and hopefully a few that are in head-to-head leagues in their grand finals do have a few up there and they've mastered it. We just want to have a bit of a look at half the questions that came in this week were, who are the top scoring players this week that we should look to get in to win our grand finals? Spy, I'll start with you, and I'll preface by saying we're not doing it around ownerships or pods or anything like that. It's just the top scoring players, but we're basically going to put a line through Teddy, Cherbojevic, Kalen Ponga. I've even sort of half thrown in Dom Young.
The big dogs.
The big dogs.
We know they're awesome.
Who are the other ones sort of in there that Loom's having big ones? And I think you're going to start with a few matchups to focus on.
I've just had first thing I did was have a look at matchups, who I think is going to go well, or high scoring matches. I could go on a little Maxi Bryden style spiel here for a few minutes, but bear with me. I'll keep it pretty short and sharp, unless there's some relevance here, but I think Cowboys now obviously have that matchup against Melbourne at home, potential to put some points on. Look, it's Melbourne. They got their systems. Their depth is no doubt quite good, so doesn't mean a guaranteed runaway victory, but someone like Scotty Drinkwater, obviously Valentine Holmes is there, but those couple of Cowboys could go really well. They're not at the top of my pops, but it's worth noting. 2 of my really big ones are the right winger for Penrith. We're assuming that's going to be Taruva, unless To'o swaps, but if we can figure that
Isn't
out,
that a pain?
If it was To'o, he would be my trade in. Right winger.
Why do you say right winger? Because obviously now Cleary out, Luai more dominant on the left edge. Granted, he does go over to the right a bit, and Brad Schneider, you can unlock his right wing quite well. He did it last week.
Snyder's good.
Edwards,
That's why I like him.
Edwards probably the key as well to that too, because Schneider goes into line pretty well. You can find Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards is probably the key, isn't he?
But I think Snyder, like I said, he goes really deep into the line, squares
good
up
little loft
well.
ball.
It just works well. Dane Laurie had 4 line breaks last weekend on the right wing. 1 was off himself, catching a really good bomb, but he had 3 clean line breaks. I just think that's the spot to be.
Yep.
So if we could get any of them. I've noted Dylan Edwards here, but he does worry me a little bit at the moment. He just didn't look himself last weekend. So hopefully he can come back to his best. But I mean, goal kicking versus South at fullback doesn't get much better if you want to.
You want a piece of this game, don't you, somewhere?
Get a piece of that one. The Saturday Arvo is interesting. Saints versus Para. If the weather's good there, which looks like it will be, could be some points on offer, which leads me straight to Zach Lomax. He's very close to my number 1 this weekend, right up the top there. He's coming into my side, I'll tell you right now.
Him, isn't it?
It's made for him. And Saints...
He's offloading at will.
Oh, man.
They just cannot wrap his arms up. They have like 4 guys on him. He still just pops it out of the back every time.
He's such a player, honestly.
It's insane.
I've never... actually, I did about 3 or 4 years ago. But, yeah, and Gutho's the other one, killing it. Maxi Bryden, shout out there. He called it pretty early. He's averaging 80 or 83 or something the last 5 rounds. Goal kicking in everything. He's not someone
Which is
I've got.
great if Teddy, Turbo, Ponga weren't averaging 130.
Yep, I forgot his fullback, not
Yes.
centre. So scrap him, Gutho out. Sad Diavo, just the one from the Dolphins Brisbane match, but Tristan Saylor scored a ton last weekend. I've seen him play some real good footy before. That could be a confidence booster.
Jesus. Tristan Saylor.
Now, is he available anywhere but fullback? I don't know if he is.
I'm going to say no.
I don't think so.
Because if he is, line through him as well. But we're talking, sometimes in head-to-head grand final, you got to go
fullback only.
Ah,
You
bugger.
can get him for 373k.
That's unbelievable.
Bloody hell, Spy.
Well, if
Pull
you're
your head in.
absolutely dead set, desperate Sad Diavo, pull Tristan into your side. Saturday night, I think Cronulla against the Waz, they tried the hearts out last Friday at Shaun Johnson Stadium. They were never really in it after the last 20 minutes. They just don't have the class this year. They look pretty slow and tired, to be honest. Bulldogs dismantled them. It was raining. Dogs put 34 or something on them. Sharkies at home could be good. So you've got Hines, who we spoke about. If he doesn't play Trindle, Sammy Stone Street on the left wing, killing it.
Ronnie.
That's another matchup. Mulatalo, is he?
He's back.
Is he back?
Pretty sure.
Just check. I don't think he
double
is.
check. Oh, he's not. Oh,
That's it,
shit.
unless he's extended. Let's pull down here and have a quick look, because that left wing for the Sharkies. Where are we now? Is he
that's wonderful.
extended bench though or not?
No.
There you go. So
Ooh.
Sammy Stone Street is. And to round myself out, I've already spoken about Bradman Best, Marju, and it's Dane Gagai who's smashing it. Like that's clear as day. I think that matchup's good against the Titans Sunday Arvo. My rank of those three would probably be Marju, Gagai, Best in that order.
Marju, Gagai, best from the Knights.
Yeah,
obviously.
from the that's my Knights
So
selection.
Marju's elevated to number 1 with best bat.
Oh, that's from the Knights, but I'd still go.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll tell you what, though, he's not that far off one overall if they can click gears. But yeah, I still think for me it's Taruva, Edwards, Lomax. Pick one of your Knights. They're probably my big four for me. The only other one was Dan Tupou, was huge last weekend, as we saw.
That
They
whole
went
Roosters
all
left
day.
edge. Yeah.
If they keep doing that, looking good. But
Taruva, number 1.
I'm going to go probably Lomax at 1. Going to go... Look, Dylan Edwards is fullback, so I'm not going to rank him because there's so many options, but he could easily be number 1. If he's healthy, man, he's probably the man. You could... Oh, there's so many good fullbacks, isn't there? Let's scrap fullback for a moment. Taruva, Lomax, Hines, and then the issue with the Knights are I'm not sure which one to pick, but I think Greg Marju could be on.
I hope you're right.
So I think they're my top 3.
All right.
But Lomax is my boy.
Dezzy, what do you come up with?
I've pretty much got the exact same as the Spy there for that one. I also put Lomax at the very top. He's I said earlier in the season that I'm just not going to own him this year. I've owned him every season in the past. I've held off getting him this season. It's hurt me. It would have been the defining factor to push me up higher, but I just did it out of spite. He's just annoying me. So, but yeah, I think I'd put Dan Tupou a bit higher on that list, assuming the Roosters don't rest anyone. They want to hold on to the home final. I think that they're going left enough that whole left edge is almost becoming Supercoach relevant. He's just been scoring tries at will.
Michael Jennings left centre. Another combination would throw me out a little bit on that, just because he hasn't played there a lot this year.
When he's been there, I feel like he's got quite a good deft little tip on Jennings. I reckon it'll work all right.
I think
for
he's
him.
played right edge mostly though.
No,
Is that
I
right?
remember seeing him on left at least a little bit. Yeah. Tupou's an interesting one. 9 games this year since round 15, average 78.78. 2 very soft games. He's a huge play there. Boys, for my list, I was tossing up between Val and Lomax. I'm going to put Lomax at the top because he comes up against that edge of Blaze Talangi and Micah Sevo. I know. See, that's where I'm in a conundrum with my final trade of if I were to make one this week, and we'll get to those shortly, I need a genuine miracle to run Guru down because he went huge last week. I need injuries. I need just all sorts of things. But I really want Lomax, but he's got him, so I'm like, oh, it's one of the few things. Between that and my curse with Manu, the hoodoo, there's not much I've got left to grasp onto, but
keep it alive.
I need a genuine miracle.
I was telling you before the show, Guru messaged me Sunday night and said, how'd you go? I'm like, this is the randomest message. Like, me and Guru talk from time to time, but it's never about that.
Yeah.
I was flicked on, I'm like, 1,580 or something. Like, no wonder you're checking how everyone went. Wow.
Yeah. Easy to read, that fella. But yes, I like your Lomax as number one with that matchup. I think Val Holmes gets a really good matchup against the Storm, who are depleted. As you said, they have their systems, their depth is good, but they still got a lot of different combinations coming in. Val, he's going at that right edge, which has been defensively probably their Achilles heel this season anyway. I just think it bodes very well, even in a night game. It's in Townsville, provided it is dry.
Vice captain.
I think I like him as vice captain option, especially because for my side, if there's any concerns over Curran and I'm going to loop, I can just drop Curran on the Friday night, so I need to do it early. So I'm actually eyeing that. But look, I'd probably have Lomax 1, Val 2. I like Jerome Luai, you mentioned him spy, but I just think, I know he got his 24 against the Raiders, but for what it's worth, the Raiders weren't playing like a bottom 8 side in that. The 2 weeks prior were horrific. They got up for this game big time. I think Jerome Luai, I just think they put a big score on the Bunnies. And
a response game as well.
They never lose 2 in a row. They've lost 2 in a row. The squad's still pretty strong. The Bunnies, they've checked out for the season. So I really like Luai. We've sort of spoken about him a fair bit, not necessarily on this show, but Sammy Walker has a big ton incoming. I'm sure he does. And with the matchup they've got again, the Raiders were great last week. It would have taken a lot out of their tank. They conceded 40 in consecutive weeks against the Cowboys the week before and the Seagulls the week before that. There is a bit of a wild card there, though. If the Raiders do get up again like they did last week, maybe that puts a bit of a cap on the Roosters' spy. But how do you feel?
Oh, definitely can. As you said, can they back it up after a very big outing last weekend, like one of the great Raider wins? Oh, man, they're fighting for the 8, so maybe they can do it. And at some stage, maybe they fall off a cliff in a game. But it's a really interesting game, this one. Sunday Arvo. A lot of ramifications, word of the day. Like, it's going to be huge. Can they get up? I never write off the Raiders, put it like that.
Yeah.
They're capable.
They're capable for sure.
They're also capable of utter rubbish at times, but we'll see.
The thing about it, even with Penrith last week, the pack will get up. We'll be solid enough through the middle. Our edge defence is so leaky, and that's where the Roosters
do damage.
We'll put it this way. 2 of the best attacking teams in the competition who have their defensive issues are Manly and the Cowboys. They destroy other teams' edges because they move the ball so well. They both put 40 on us. Penrith, they're not using their edges that well.
No.
So I'm just,
I can see how the Raiders get up, and you probably spoke about it already on your other potty, but they can turn that into a battle through the middle, a physical contest against Roosters. That ball's fizzing left to right.
Way too much strike on
Hard
the edges.
work, so I feel you on that.
And on the Penrith one, I've got To'o listed down on this as well, but firstly, what edge is he going to play? I said probably on the left with Tuva on the right. I'd like To'o, but he's got 2 sub 40 or 45 scores in a row.
Let's put a shout out to the viewers and listeners. Someone get to Panthers training, please, captain's run, and just report back. They'll obviously train on their left and right edge. So let us know, please. That'll be huge.
Yeah. Dane Gagai had there as well. If you want a real smoky, I think Bradman Best back, since I put my list together, probably takes away a little bit from the right edge of the Knights, or at least I'm hoping. But before Best was back, I had a little Fletcher Sharp as well.
I forgot to mention him.
Ago,
I love that kid.
A little sneaky one there.
Quick.
And then also Daniel Tupou as well. So similar enough list. But if I was ranking them, I reckon I'd go Lomax, Val Holmes. I do like the Luai play. Sammy Walker, To'o, bit of a wild card there. Guys, that miserable time of year has come around once again. Not missing out on head-to-head finals for a 3rd straight season of being the laughing stock of your league. Tax time. We have a special call-out to any self-employed SC Playbook faithful who may have been hit with a tax bill this year. Doesn't have to be self-employed, but if you are self-employed and you've got no idea what to do, you know where to go. If this is sounding familiar and you're a little unsure about how to attack it, there are plenty of options out there to keep more money in your pocket, especially if you currently have a place of your own. Give Paddy and the team at Mortgage Choice SCW a call and they can let you know how to most effectively consolidate any tax debt. Usually it'll cost you $129, but if you mention SC Playbook, it'll be completely free of charge. Flick the team a message on Instagram at mortgagechoice_SCW or give them a buzz on 02 9521 1611, no matter where in Australia you are based. Boys, I'm just throwing one hot topic out there today, and that's going to be it. Head-to-head grand finals. Would you trade Tom Trebojevic coming up against the Bulldogs 6 p.m. Friday to Kalen Ponga up against the Titans, which is Sunday
Sunday at 2.
Sunday at 2. Spy. You've got a trade left. You're in your decider. Would you make that move?
Yeah, wouldn't hesitate.
Wow.
I would do it for sure.
Dez?
You know what? I would do it after seeing, what the Titans' right edge defense served up last week. You'd assume that the Knights are just going to absolutely punish them on that side. So, I mean, the Bulldogs, they've been good defensively all year. Not to say that Turbo won't turn up against them. He probably still can. It's a bit tougher. He normally gets a lot of his line breaks through the ruck, but I think the Bulldogs' ruck is quite a lot better than most other teams. So, yeah, I would actually pull the trigger. I think Ponga's going to go huge, and he scares the hell out of me not owning him.
And the other thing there as well, I know this is tough, but overall plays as well, with that scenario mentioned, if Tommy Turbo was to rest next week, you might lose him next week as well. Ponga next week comes up against the Dolphins at McDonald Jones in Newcastle.
Hopefully playing for a top 8 berth.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting one. So, yeah, look, it could be worth, if you're in it, as I said, it's certainly a far better matchup. Boys, the other I'll throw into hot topics, replacements. If you do need a front row forward this week, and I think there are a fair few out there that looking like they may do, who would be your man to bring into your side? And just going through a few of the most traded in, Joe Tarpany, Adam Fanua-Blake, Ruben Cotter, obviously Payne Haas will start to creep up this list now that team lists have come out. I mean, it almost looks like a battle in probably threes, as it has been all year. Tarpany, Fanua-Blake and Payne Haas. Spy?
Not Fanua-Blake, he's got a bye next week. Obviously, if it's purely head-to-head, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I don't mind him. But Sharks, they're a pretty good side. Tarpany's going pretty bloody well, isn't he? He's pretty up there.
I think Taps is probably the play. The Raiders, finals hope still alive. The Roosters pack's good, but look, Tarpany, he looked to up his hand in attack a little bit last week. He looked to get that arm free. He had a couple of really attacking offloads, set up a try, set up a line assist. I do think Taps is probably the option, especially quite heavily owned as it is for Fanua-Blake. Dezzy?
I concur, yeah.
Yeah. And that's, as you mentioned, Spy, overall, certainly, Fanua-Blake bye next week, so you put a line through him there.
The other one is Mitch Barnett back in the middle. Played on an edge last weekend. Showed his work rate. Back to a cheaper price. You know how hard he plays.
Good shout.
So, yeah, back in the middle, he's a real good shout as well.
Boys, trades and skippers for round 26. Dezzy, I won't talk about your trades. What skippers are you looking at, mate?
VC, Val, C, Teddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Boom. Spy, you've got 3 trades to play with. Talk to us.
Trades. I'm going to bring in Zach Lomax for Ruben Garrick. Love my Garrick, but he's just a bit down in work rate of late. I don't know how closely you've watched him, Dezzy, but I just wonder if he's just a little bit hesitant, building back some confidence after a few head knocks. He's not been himself. Not playing poorly by any means, but his work rate's dropped a lot. Bulldogs into possible resting. I'm just happy to have a little bit of a swing there. I like my other centres.
Based on that, like asking for myself, do you see Garrick as a good sit opportunity this week?
I mean, people are going to struggle for depth, but if we pull up your side, who else could you play up there instead?
This is without making a trade, I've got like Munster that I'm currently sitting.
I'd love to play Munster over
Garrick.
Yeah, especially because Munster would probably be the key man in the halves there. Up at Townsville.
I could play, there's Cherry Evans there that I could sit. I don't want to sit Margie now that Best is back, so...
Yeah, I just wonder, Garrick might click back to his best at any point, but just on recent weeks, I'm happy to have a little bit of a swing.
Yep.
And go from there.
So Lomax in for Garrick?
Yep, Lomax in for Garrick. And then Cleary for either Luai or Nico Hines. Now, Luai does play South and the Titans. It's
in Penrith.
Pretty bloody good. He'll be filthy about last weekend. We know that for a fact. He's a competitor.
I don't think anyone will touch him after his 24 last week either.
Yeah, pod territory. And the facts are I'm not going to know if Nico's playing. So that puts a real spanner in the works. So I think I might get Jerome Luai in. Save one trade next week, which I can already tell you what it is. Fanua-Blake up in the front row there. I can flip Samuel Afino and I can actually bring down my main man, Jed Cartwright, into the back row so I can get any centre next week for Aiden Fanua-Blake. So we'll see how the matchups pan out, but that's my little 3 trade strategy into the final week. See if I can get myself into the the 2,800s or something similar. Not too far off that mark.
2,800s.
That was a bit random. I
Very
know.
specific.
I was going to say 3. I was going to say 2 ones, but we landed there.
Fair enough.
Go from there. Zach Lomax probably VC into. I'm thinking Kalen Ponga skipper over Teddy, but we'll decide that one on Sunday, Arvo. That is a tricky one, but yeah, maybe just all aboard the KP train.
Yep.
Sunday.
I would.
Matty, what do you got for us, mate? One bullet left in the chamber. Where are you going to use it?
Yeah, I've got Ponga, so he'll be my captain. I might try and get a back rower. I haven't got Angus Crichton, so I'll probably just get him, to be honest, because
Yeah, why not?
yeah, there's no harm getting Angus Crichton. So I'm kind of looking at him at the moment.
Yep. Very good.
And definitely captaining Ponga for sure.
I said, like, I've got enough depth this week that I don't need to use my final trade. And, like, I'm sort of sitting there next week going, like, all right, with the Manly situation, even if Cherry Evans were to rest, I could go, well, if Manly do must rest, I could lose Olaquatu, Cherry Evans, Garrick from my side. To a less degree, Taniela Paseka. I can probably overcome that one all right, I reckon. But if I was going to trade this week, I need to crunch a few numbers and work out if there is an even viable chance of catching Guru, and my suspicion is no, there's not. In which case, I wanted Luai, but then when Munster was named, I'm like, do I need to do that? Not necessarily. So I'm thinking probably Zach Lomax. But then, like, where I'm ranked, he's about 42% owned. I'm like, am I really achieving much here? Probably not. He's the logical one. So I could go something like Casey McLean to Zach Lomax. I've got a ton of cash in the bank, which is good. And I was eyeing Toto a little bit, but yeah, I think if I'm going to trade this week, it's probably Zach Lomax in. And again, basically, it comes down to the 1 in a billion chance I can catch Guru based on a lot of injuries happening and all sorts of weird shit. I like the Ponga captaincy as well. Guru doesn't have Teddy. That's why I'm like, well, if anything's going to happen, it has to be Teddy.
And he has KP or no?
He's got KP.
Yep. Oh, you got a captain Teddy then?
Yeah.
Just in case he gets like 250.
Well, that's the thing. I'm just like, if I'm like 700,
That's a pipe dream.
I'm like, well, yeah, no.
250. Tommy early, not Hemi, he's sweet. Early HIA, just precautionary,
Yeah.
fails it.
Sits
Gets
out next
3.
week.
That's a 500-point swing and game on.
That's what I'm like. In my head, I'm just like, all right, if I captain Teddy and he can double ton, let's hope he doesn't because it's against the Raiders. But if he double tons, like, it's possible, or even like a 180 or something.
Definitely possible.
Bang bang, and then Turbo goes does something happen. Let's say. Anyway,
Just a minor 2-week thing that won't affect his final
little
performance.
2 week. It's just a little HIA.
I reckon just a cat 2 HIA.
A cat 3, and they say,
He
what, we
fails
won't
it,
risk
and he's
him.
like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
never concussed.
Yeah.
Then he can't play next weekend, and then he's fired up for finals.
He stubs his toe on the way out of the sheds.
God.
A big toe HIA out for 2 weeks.
Got to watch those big toe HIAs.
They hurt.
But yes, I do. Overall, I actually love the Kalen Ponga play. I think against the Titans there, I narrowly prefer that to actually James Tedesco.
Well, you'll know where you're at Sunday, Arvo, so you can just decide then.
Good shout.
Yep, you can just make
Yeah,
a call.
if I'm absolutely zero check. Good from you, Spy. I do think Ponga's the play, though. I like him. And then my VC, as I mentioned before, just because I can drop a front rower, being Curran or Paseka, which is definitely my weak link this week, I'm liking little Val Holmes on Thursday
Yeah, nice.
night.
See what he can do.
Boys, a few questions before we wrap it up.
Could jump in with a random stat before you do?
Yeah, you can
Throw
use
something
whatever you want, mate.
It's not good for Dezzy, but this is why I'm talking about Seagulls not wanting to play the Bulldogs. Bulldogs yet to lose at home this year, still 10-0. Seagulls 3 from 10 away. So I think the matchup's got to be Cowboys. So however this lands this weekend, Seagulls will want to play the Cowboys. Round
Yeah,
one.
they will.
That's just my
I do
analysis
wonder
there.
though. Do they just rest Tommy?
Oh, potentially.
Because
Like,
they have
like they can win the
they've
game.
got 8 million different top-notch fullbacks that can
Yeah,
play. So it's
100%.
like, is it worth risking Tommy to potentially get the Cowboys, or do you just play Hopawadi there or something?
That is where coaching would be an absolute
Oh, yeah.
nightmare. Like, it's hard enough in fantasy
it's almost
sports,
lose-lose. You just
let alone there. And one other quick thing, 'cause we forgot to mention him, but Jake Clifford scored 128 on his return a couple of weeks ago and absolutely killed it.
He did play phenomenal.
He's a smoky Thursday night.
Dual or just halfback?
Just half. And I can't remember if I thought of that first or someone told me in WhatsApp.
Wilson. I'm pretty sure Walsh.
He's got Walsh written all over
yeah.
it.
I think someone in
loves
WhatsApp
Clifford.
mentioned it well, so shout out to whoever that was.
Walsh is Clifford's biggest fan.
Yeah, but no, he killed it. He absolutely brained it. So, yeah. Back to you.
Thank you. Boys, questions. One from Anton Posser. If you can field a decent... I mean, this is basically my situation, to be fair. If you can field a decent 17 this week and I have one trade left, would you go all out with it or save it for next week? I love your work. Thank you, Anton. Spy.
I'll just weigh up who I'd be going to drop. Say it was, for example, Garrick for Lomax. You might be able to jag like 80 or 90 points. It's pretty good. But I'd want a good shot at least 70 or 80 points, I think, to do it.
Extra.
Yeah, extra on top of what the other way is going to score.
Well, that's probably the question, isn't it? On a week like this where we don't really have to look long term, how many points is the trade going to get you?
Yeah, I'd want probably, like off the absolute top of my head, at least 70 because next weekend anything could happen. There could be opportunities galore.
Yeah. Well, okay. What about you, Dezzy? How do you feel? I know it's obviously a general question, but...
I think Kalen Ponga is probably the only player I'd bring in this week if I had a trade left.
With your final trade, you'd do Turbo to Ponga?
I think so, yeah. If I had one left, if I had my time over, I wouldn't have brought in Cherry Evans. It was a rush of blood.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think Turbo will probably get significantly outscored by Ponga, especially if he rests next week. So I think you're going to net much more than 100 points with that trade.
Yeah, fair play. And yeah, as I said, I'm in that boat and I'm leaning towards the saving it for next week. One from Dino Hyde. Boys, I can get anyone at 5'8". Who is the best option? Obviously, there will be a few in this boat. I mean, I'm a Dylan Brown and Cam Munster owner. And Dylan Brown, who I think I've had him since round one, just about Dill Brown, or near enough. And... he's been quite underwhelming the last few weeks after
He owes a big finish.
He does owe a big finish, and he's got the games to do it. Dragons and then someone soft. It might be the Titans or someone. Who do you think the 5'8" to trade in is for? Let's say for head-to-head players out there who've got a 5'8" slot, they might have Lockie Galvin, and for overall spy.
Same answer for both. It's Jerome Luai for sure.
Yep, because we've got Jaden Campbell, Matty Burton, Max Plath if he plays, Tommy Dearden, but they've got doggies next week. Dezzy, what do you think?
I think it's Munster. I reckon if I had Munster, I would almost VC Munster this week against the Cowboys up there.
Just with more
I think
responsibility.
He's just going to be the absolute weasel that he is. Run sideways, bust about 30 tackles. It's all going through Munster. I think he'll turn up in Townsville.
It's a very weak side though.
It is, but
all
he needs to do is just run sideways.
Okay. I think it's Jerome Luai. I'm tinkering with sitting Cam Munster, but you're right. Like, he hasn't scored that well because it's gone through Hughes, it's gone through Grant. It's like it is his team now.
It's madness to sit him. I would not do that.
Roger that. Boys, next one here. Well, Mickey Hand, is Garrick still a hold or worth moving to Gagai? Spy, you're doing it. Dezzy, what's your take on Garrick? Would you, if you got a trade left, 2 tough games to go? So really, they got doggies this week, then Sharks.
Yeah.
So it's tough regardless.
Yeah.
I think we have a very good record against Cronulla at Brookvale, though.
Okay.
So that's also another thing to keep in mind if you're bringing in Hines as well. I think the Sharks do very, very poorly at Manly.
That's what swung me to Luai in the last half hour.
Yeah.
Just the fact that Penrith get Goldie next weekend as well. South into Gold Coast is more enticing than might play into Manly at home. So yeah.
I love the Luai shout.
Yeah.
Boys, one from Josh Ouse. With Appy and Harry potentially rested, is Little the number one hooker option for the head-to-head final, or is there someone else worth considering? Look, Dez, you're out of trades, but you know, if you had him, you might be making a move at hooker. Do you think Little's the man?
I think so, yeah. I think he's making enough tackles. He's making 45, 50 tackles a game. And then he's, putting a few people in gaps as well. He hasn't really absolutely, piled on the attacking points like we saw Harry do last week. But it feels like it's just around the corner. He's making a few good darts out of dummy half. He seems to be a good accumulator of points, and that's why he's averaging up in those mid-60s.
It's been unreal.
So, yeah, I think you can't go wrong with him.
I had stats last week on beers and break-evens, but it was something like a 12 or 13 average of 70+. So And I think Spy, it was between him and Connor Watson, but now that as it stands, Watson's been named on the bench, I think Little's the play at hooker.
Can't go wrong with Little. The other one's Damien Cook to finish strong. A couple of tougher games, but maybe it
Penrith,
goes
though.
out. I think you'd be happy to own Little.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Cal Tycoon, if that's his real last name, that is very cool. Is Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow a sit or a start this week? He says, I need a pod for my head-to-head final. So it's a one-week play. Oh, sit v start, obviously. I've sat him the last couple of weeks and he's not been involved in the Dolphins' attack at all, but he does come up against a shaky Broncos defence. Should have jumped on Ren Diggity, fellas. Should have jumped on Ren Diggity. 125 or something last week. Spy, Hammer, sit or start?
It also depends who you're opting to sit him or start him for, but I feel like he's probably a play this week.
Let's say it's Garrett.
At Suncorp, you'd have to say
Let's
fast
say
track.
Let's say it's Garrett.
I'd prefer Hammer this week. Fast track, big derby, Hammer lifts for big games.
Yeah.
As you said, Broncos have been pretty leaky and flaky of late at times, so I think I'd like to own Hammer this week. Yeah.
Yep. One from JS Lee. Is Jaden Sewer a slam dunk this week? Look, this one's come a little bit from left field. When I saw the question pop up, I did have a little bit of a look into him, and he's putting out some pretty good numbers, boys, and it's 2 good fixtures to finish the season as well. He's at a 5-round average of 69, a solid 64 last week, ticking along well. There's a bit of attack in him. What do you reckon, Dez? He's coming off 64, 60, 56, 93, 73, 88, playing his 80 minutes. He's going well.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with those sort of numbers. Hasn't scored below, sort of 50, 60 in quite a while. Has try-scoring potential, obviously, against 2 of the weaker teams to finish the season. I like it. I like it.
Yep. And I think that'll do us.
I've got 300k in the bank, boys.
So
Next
do I.
week's trade is going to be massive.
You'd go Joe Chan to whoever.
I'm just going to double check.
Joe Chan to Lomax.
I might be able to keep Garrick. We'll see. Otherwise, I've got upwards of 900k to spend. No, $1 million for Nua Blade to anyone. So watch out. I'll bring in someone worth 300k.
Boys, that'll do us for the Round 26 podcast. Dezzy, thank you, mate, and thank you for the year because you are done and dusted.
Thank you, boys.
You'll be shooting along for a beer next Saturday at this stage, barring any changes.
We'll do, yep.
How good, Spite? You'll be back probably after the season. You might be back next week.
Yeah, we'll have a look.
Depends how busy you are.
Anything could happen. Dezzy, well done on the year, mate. Finished strong for us. You've been outstanding again.
Trying to get us that top league ranking, but Williams brothers just letting me down.
Yeah, I haven't publicised that one too much this year.
We've been below par, mate, so we'll be back.
We'll be back. 2020.
With a
You
vengeance.
don't keep us down for long, so coming for you next year, mate. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, at the next week, not sure what's doing exactly, but I definitely will be out at whichever pub we land at for a little bit there. I'll just work out which times. We've got Sambo's grand final the next day in Canberra, so a bit of driving to figure out, but I'll be there. Don't you worry.
How good. Righto, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck in your head-to-head grand finals this week.